Okay, so for this skill, we're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide two fractions. So we know we've been working on doing these things, and if we just make sure that we remember all of the steps in adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions, we're going to be fine. So our first problem here is a simple one. It's 1 over 5 divided by 1 over 4. And with this set of problems, it's probably best to have a piece of paper with you just to help work them out. Some of them can have a few steps. Instead of just 2, it might have 3 or 4 steps. So if you got a pencil and a piece of paper with you, that's going to help you out. Remember that when we are dividing fractions, we're going to take the reciprocal, which is the right number, the right fraction, and we're going to flip it upside down. So 1 over 5, I'm going to change the divide sign into a multiply sign, and I'm going to flip 1 over 4 into 4 over 1. Now I'm going to do my multiplication. 1 times 4 equals 4, and 5 times 1 equals 5. So my answer is 4/5, 4 over 5. All right, here's another one just like we did on the last problem. 1 over 3 divided by 3 over 5. We're going to switch that division sign into a multiplication sign, and we're going to turn the reciprocal upside down. I'm going to switch that 3/5 into 5 over 3. 1 times 5 equals 5 over 3 times 3 equals 9. So the answer is 5/9, 5 over 9. Let's do one more. All right, so this one may be a little bit tougher. It may not be. We've got 11 over 12 plus 1 over 2. What we don't want to do is we don't want to go in and just say 11 plus 1 is 12, 12 plus 2 is 14. That's not the right way we want to do it. We have to make sure that the denominators are equal on both sides. In order to do that, we have to find the least common denominator. In order to do that, we're going to find the least common multiple. So we've got to turn the denominator on both sides into the same number. So 12 and 2, we've got to find a common multiple between the two. Will 2 go into 12? Yes, it will. In order for 2 to go into 12, how many times does it take to go in? Oh, this sucks. Okay, so for this skill, we're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide two fractions. We're going to start with this problem here. We're going to add two fractions. One thing that we want to do when we're working on this set of problems is it's probably best to have a pencil and a piece of paper with this. Because yes, you're probably smart enough to work it out through in your head, but it's going to be a little simpler to write it down and to see it in front of you. That way you don't have to do 3 or 4 steps inside of your head. You can write it on paper so you're not forgetting or skipping anything. So in order to add these fractions together, we can't do it just yet because the denominators aren't the same. The bottom numbers aren't the same. Got to be the same for us to add them together. So I've got 11 over 12 plus 1 over 2. I've got to make sure that both denominators match up. How am I going to do that? I'm going to find the least common denominator. This one is sort of simple because I know that 2 can go into 12. So I know that there's a number that I can multiply that 2 by, and I can turn it into 12. So if I'm thinking about it, what multiplies by 2 and turns into 12? 2 times 6 is 12. So if I take that 2 and multiply it by 6, I'll get a 12. So I'm going to write down the whole problem. 11 over 12 plus 1 over 2. I'm going to put a dot by my 2 and then a 6 on the right side of that dot, and now I have 12. I'm going to take that same 6 and I'm going to multiply that 6 by 1, which is the numerator. 1 times 6 is 6. So now my problem turns into 11 over 12 plus 6 over 12. Now I can add straight across on the numerator. I'm going to get 17. And the denominator 12 is going to stay the same. So the answer is 17 over 12. Perfect. Here's another one. Again, we're going to use our paper. This is a little bit more simple problem because the denominator is the same right now. It's 2 over 5 plus 1 over 5. So we're going to take 2 plus 1, that equals 3. And remember, we're not going to add together the denominator. It stays the same. It's 5, so the answer is 3 over 5. Okay, so with this problem, we're going to do some multiplication. We cannot multiply a fraction by a whole number without changing that whole number into a fraction. And whenever you change a whole number into a fraction, you simply just take that whole number and you put a 1 underneath that whole number. So your numerator is 12, your denominator is 1. So I'm going to turn 5 times 6, I'm going to turn 5 over 6 times 12 into 5 over 6 times 12 over 1, and then I'm going to multiply straight across. So when we multiply 12 times 5, we're going to get, I got to do this one in my head, 60. So 5 times 12 is 60. 6 times 1 is 6. So our answer is 60 over 6. All right. We're going to do another one here, adding this fraction together. Remember, in order to add fractions together, the denominator, the bottom number, has to be the same. So I've got 7 over 10 plus 3 over 5. I know that 5 can go into 10. How many times can 5 go into 10? Twice. So that's 5 times 2 equals 10. I'm going to take that 5 times 2 and turn my denominator into 10. And that same multiple of 2, I'm going to multiply 3 times 2. So I'm going to multiply that same 2 to the numerator. So now I've got 3 times 2 is 6. So my numerator turns into 6. So I'm going to now add 7 plus 6, the numerators together, that equals 13. And my denominator remains 10. So the answer is 13 over 10. All right, and we're going to jump to a higher level, and we're going to do one more problem here. We're going to multiply these two numbers, and we discussed how this works a little bit earlier. You can't multiply 13 over 15 times 8 because 8 needs to be turned into a fraction. So I'm going to write it out, 13 over 15 times 8 over 1. So again, whenever you have a whole number, turn it to a fraction by placing it over 1 and making your denominator 1. 13 times 8, that equals 104. 15 times 1, that equals 15. So your answer is 104 divided by, or not divided by, but over 15. Got it. And we'll just do one more and we'll end it here. So we're going to take that 10 in this problem, and we're going to place it over a 1, and we're going to turn that mixed number into a fraction. How do we do that? We're going to take the whole number, which is 9, and we're going to multiply it by the denominator, which is 6. 9 times 6 is 54. Next, we're going to take the 1, the numerator, and we're going to add it to 54. So 9 times 6 equals 54 plus 1, that's 55. 55 is your new numerator, your new top number. Your denominator, we're going to keep that the same, which is 6. So the problem has turned into 10 over 1 times 55 over 6. So now we're going to multiply straight across. 10 times 55 equals 550. And 1 times 6, that is 6. So your answer is 550 over 6. All right. I hope you got it. If you have any questions, of course, you can contact anybody on the 6th grade team, and we will be happy to help you out. Good luck.